Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining me for this Candlelight Yin practice. This practice is great to do in the evening or whenever you want to just have a little time to relax and wind down. If it makes sense to you, you could light a few candles or just get your space ready with whatever ambiance you would like. Couple blocks, some blankets. I like to have a blanket out on my mat for yin, and maybe another blanket to sit on, and maybe your pet will join you as well. And just come to a comfortable seat. Gently close your eyes and just begin to tune in. Notice any sensations in your body, whether it's tightness, tension, or even discomfort. Find a comfortable position. Maybe pet your cat if they're wanting some attention. Just notice what's going on in your environment, in the room you're in. You might notice sounds. There might be other things going on. See if you can invite a sense of curiosity and non-resistance. So sometimes we hold on to stress and tightness and tension in our body because it's a form of resistance. So notice what you're feeling. Notice the areas of your body that you're tending to hold tightness or tension. Notice your breath. Notice if your inhale and exhale feel any different. Is one deeper or shallower than the other? And then see if you can gently deepen your inhale to be about 4 seconds. And see if you can lengthen your exhale to be about 6 seconds. So 2 counts longer than your inhale. Breathe in through your nose and sigh it out. Again, breathe in through your nose, nice smooth inhale, and sigh it out, making a ha sound. Take another breath like that. Inhale through your nose to a count of about 4. And exhale, sigh it out to a count of about 6 or maybe a little longer. And then if your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes. So we're going to find a little bit of movement into our body before we come into our first pose. So reach one arm up and take a little side bend over to one side. Just notice how that feels. And you can look down, straight ahead, or up, whatever feels best to you. On your inhale, come back up and then over to your other side. Notice how the stretch feels. On your inhale, come back up and lower your arms down. Our first pose is going to be butterfly pose, a seated butterfly. So you might want to sit up on a blanket. You might want blocks handy. And we're going to bring our feet, so soles of the feet together. It's helpful to have the hips up a little bit higher so you can hinge forward more easily, but find whatever feels good to you. And Zoe, same goes for you. Find whatever feels good to you. And then start to hinge forward. So you're coming forward from your hips, keeping your spine fairly long. You might position your blocks so you can rest your arms on them, unless your cat wants you to pet her, in which case one hand is relegated to petting the cat. You might be able to hear her purring too. She's quite happy. You can also support your head. If your elbows are on your blocks or another prop even, you could use your hands to support your head. Just make sure you're not coming forward too far. So we'll be holding here for just about 4 minutes. So while we're here, invite your feet and legs and hips to begin to relax and release. If you're not supporting your head, try to keep your neck long and neutral. And have a sense that you're just inviting your body to sort of release into gravity. So let your legs and hips be heavy. And just like a cat can relax completely, imagine you're inviting your muscles to release and relax just like a cat can. Just like Miss Zoe here. She knows how to relax. Breathe here. You might also position a prop to support your head. You could use a bolster if you prefer. And notice where you feel this stretch. It should be in your outer hips. Notice your breath. Sometimes you have to get creative when your cat wants attention and you want to relax at the same time. Soften your shoulders. Always make sure you only go as far into the pose that feels appropriate to you. Softening and relaxing. Begin to deepen your breath. Take a nice full inhale. Soft sigh of an exhale. Let it go. And then thoughtfully press your way back up. So we decided that's all she needed. Lean back on your hands, widen your feet, and we'll come into some windshield wipers for our counter pose. With your feet wide, drop your knees over to one side, and then inhale the knees back up, and then over to the other side. Couple more on each side if that feels good. And then come back up. So our next pose is also getting into the hips. We're going to come into square. So whichever leg in front feels best to you. Sort of like cross-leg position, except the feet are out towards the opposite knee. And your front shin is parallel to your blanket or mat. And you may already feel like you're getting some stretch into your outer hips. You should be making some semblance of a triangle in between your legs. And again, start to slowly come forward until you feel a sensation of stretch in one or both hips. One, you might feel it more than the other. Notice which leg you have in front and invite your feet and ankles again to relax and release. Invite your legs and hips to relax. And then maybe find a little deeper position if that feels appropriate. You can stay on your hands or again maybe position your blocks like little armrests. It's a little easier when you don't have a cat on your lap. And again, you might stay here or you might support your head, maybe with your hands or a prop. So find your variation. And again, invite your lower body to release into the support beneath you, releasing into gravity. And use those soft sighs of an exhale at any time. Inhaling through your nose, soft sigh of an exhale, let it go. Notice your breath. If you would like, you might change the props a little bit, maybe to go deeper, or just to switch your arm position a little bit. See if you can find a little bit more release as you exhale, just like you're relaxing and releasing into the shape. Letting your upper body relax and release. Softening into the pose. Letting go. Take a few more breaths here. Nice full inhale. Soft sigh of an exhale. Let it go. And then thoughtfully on your next inhale, press your way back upright. Set your props aside. Lean back on your hands. You can widen the feet a little bit if you would like, maybe a couple windshield wipers. The other side is going to be our counter pose, but sometimes a few windshield wipers can feel nice in between. So when you're ready, bring the opposite leg in front for square on the other side. So this really gets into the hips, and because we started with our more comfortable side, this might feel pretty awkward. So again, the feet are going out towards the opposite knees, and then start to hinge forward. Again, you might stay on your hands, or position your blocks. There we go. Position your props, your hands and arms, wherever it makes sense to you. Invite your feet and ankles to relax. Relax your lower legs. Relax your upper legs. Relax your hips. Soften your shoulders. Arms and hands might be supporting you. Keep your neck neutral, or maybe support your head with your hands or another prop. And breathe here. This might be a little more challenging than the first side. So you might notice sensations might be a little more intense. Notice if you have the urge to come out of the pose maybe sooner than it's time for. But just know that if ever your knees or back or any other area of your body is having a sharp sensation, that's your body's way of saying come out. Find a variation. Don't stay in pain. It should feel like a stretch. It may feel uncomfortable, but it shouldn't feel like a sharp sensation. Making sure knees are happy. Relax those feet and ankles. Relax the legs. Release your hips. Soften your shoulders. Avoid letting your head hang. Either keep your neck neutral or support your head with your hands, or whatever makes sense to you. You might position a couple blocks, something like this. You might rest your head. Angling the block sometimes is nice. This can feel really restful and can be really great for the nervous system when you're supporting the head. Notice your breath. Begin to deepen your breath. Take a nice full inhale, soft sigh of an exhale, let it go. And then thoughtfully on your next inhale, press your way back up. Set aside any props you were using. Slowly lean back on your hands, uncrossing your legs, and again, maybe some windshield wipers. Notice sensation. Groaning is okay. Sometimes coming out of these poses, it's like, oh boy, just might elicit a groan. So now we're going to come into another pose that's sort of like a child's pose. It's a wide-legged child's pose. It's called Tadpole. So this gets into the hips quite nicely, and we're going to add a variation to get into the upper back as an option. Really make sure you listen to your body. So Zoey didn't want to lay on her meditation cushion. Set that aside for now. Make sure you have a blanket on your mat, especially if you're on a hard surface. We're going to widen the knees out a little bit. You can start with your toes touching and then separate the feet slightly. Sit your hips back towards that space between your heels and notice how that feels. If it feels like you're starting to get a stretch in your hips and inner thighs a little bit, but it's not too much, you may be fine. If it feels like too much, bring your feet in a little closer. From here, couple options. You might just reach your hands and arms forward like a child's pose and rest your forehead on the mat. That can feel really nice. And with your arms straight, you'll get a little shoulder stretch as well. If it's too much for the shoulders, you can bend the arms. And if your head doesn't quite make it to the mat, bring a block to support the head. And that can be really nice as well. If your hips are up a little higher, bring a prop under your head and bring your arms in a little closer to help support yourself. So find what feels good to you. Another option, if you want to get deeper into the upper back and shoulders, is to use 2 blocks. If it's too much with the blocks, you might not even need any blocks. You might just have your elbows on the mat. And you might bring your elbows to the blocks, hands in a prayer position, forehead to the mat or a blanket, and hands come to the upper back or shoulders. So find your variations, and as we're in this pose, in this tadpole, feel free if you want to deepen it, to widen your feet out a little bit more, or to adjust any position in your upper body if whatever you've chosen doesn't feel good. Just find your variation. And if it's too much with your elbows on the blocks, you can have the elbows just on your mat. Forehead should be supported. If it's not quite making it to the mat, use your hands or a prop and breathe here. Invite your hips to be heavy. Soften your shoulders and upper back. And those open mouth sighs of an exhale, feel free to do those at any time. Staying present and aware. Feel free to make any adjustments in the upper body if you would like. Coming into more of a child's pose variation, but listen to what your body wants here. few more breaths here. And then begin to deepen your breath. Take a nice full inhale and a soft sigh of an exhale. Let it go. On your next inhale, press your way back up. Oh boy. Bring those knees underneath your hips. Notice sensation. That momentary feeling of vulnerability and fragility is that yin echo. From here, lower all the way down onto your belly. Slowly. That's the only way to go. Come into a Sphinx pose for our counter pose. Notice sensation in your hips and legs. You can activate into the upper body if that feels good, or you can make it more relaxing. This is just going to be a little counter pose here. Notice sensation. And then release out, hands under your shoulders. Press yourself up, coming back to any comfortable seat for a moment and pause. So we're going to come into twisted root, which can be really nice and relaxing. So we start by laying down on the mat. And you might want your blocks handy. You may not need them, but just in case. Start in constructive rest and cross your right leg over your left thigh, like you're sitting cross-legged in a chair with your thighs close together. Press into your left foot and just shift your hips just maybe an inch, slightly over to your right. And then let your knees go over to your left. And if this feels like it's too much of a twist, you can use that block to support the lower legs. Or you can just let the knees sort of hang, whatever feels good. And then arms where they feel comfortable to you, and just gaze over your right shoulder. Relax here. And again, if it's too much, support the lower legs. I'm going to use a block under this is my right calf there, or shin. And any variation with the arms. Relax your spine and back. Your upper back should be mostly on your mat. Breathe here. Watch your breath. You might imagine with each exhale, you're releasing and relaxing a little deeper into this pose. This pose is great for the spine, as well as the hips, getting a little bit of a stretch in the outer hips. If it's too much to turn your head to the right, you can just keep your head and neck neutral. And then inhale your head back to neutral. Begin to deepen your breath. Take a nice full inhale. Soft sigh of an exhale. Let it go. And then thoughtfully bring your knees back up. Uncross those legs. Feet flat on your mat. Lift your hips, realign your spine, and lower the hips back down. Other side is our counter pose. Cross your left leg over the right like you're sitting in a chair. Press a little bit into your right foot and just shift your hips slightly, just about an inch to the left. And then let those knees go over to the right. Again, maybe a prop under those lower legs. Maybe the head looks slightly to your left. Relax and breathe here. Coming into twisted root on the other side. This pose is really great for releasing tightness and tension through the back. Great for the spine. Invite your legs and hips to relax. Soften your shoulders. Invite your back to relax and release. Any variation of your arms. Watch your breath. Use those soft sighs of an exhale. Anytime you want to encourage release. A few more breaths here. And then on your next inhale, bring your head to neutral. Exhale here. Take a nice full inhale. Soft sigh, let it go. And then thoughtfully bring those knees back up. Uncross your legs. Feet flat on your mat, maybe elbows by your side. Press into your feet, lengthen through your spine as you lift your hips, and then lower your hips back down. Draw your knees towards each armpit, stretching out your low back. Find your variation. You might choose to bring your knees together and maybe just giving yourself a little hug here. Maybe hands on your knees and move your knees around in a circle. to massage your lower back. And then pause and reverse direction. And then release. And it's time for Shavasana. Straighten one leg out and then the other. You might place a blanket over you, maybe over your hips. I find that feels nice and grounding. Or if you're cool, you can place a blanket over you to stay warm. Make sure you feel comfortable. And as you settle in for your final resting pose, invite your body to be heavy and soft. Let your feet and legs soften and relax. Invite your hips to be heavy. Relax and release your lower back. Relax your mid-back. And relax and release your upper back. Soften your shoulders and arms. And envision space between each vertebrae. Soften your belly and soften the area around your heart. Let your head be heavy and soften the muscles in your face. Relax and release your jaw. Soften your eyes and let go. Gently bring your awareness back to being on your mat. Notice your body. Notice your breath. And observe your mind. Whenever you feel ready, begin to make small movements, wiggling your fingers or toes, whatever would delight you. And then bend one knee and then the other, drawing your knees towards your chest, giving yourself another little hug. And roll over to your left side. Pause for a moment. Support your head with your bottom arm. And then thoughtfully bring yourself up to a seat. Maybe keeping your eyes closed. And with appreciation for your focus and your awareness, perhaps bring your hands together at your heart in Anjali Mudra. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me this evening, or whatever time of day you're doing this practice. Remember to drink your water and have a wonderful rest of your evening or day. Thank you. And if you liked this video, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the mat.